Nagina Abdullah is a weight loss coach for women in midlife and founder of the top rated website, masalabody.com. Nagina has a degree in molecular cell biology from UC Berkeley and earned a MBA at NYU. She has helped more than 1,500 women in midlife successfully lose weight permanently and create a lifestyle change. Nagina teaches women to boost their metabolism naturally, to burn fat even when nothing else has worked. She focuses on adding and combining natural metabolism boosting foods to reduce belly fat and get women unstuck so that they can live in their dream body. My gosh, this is going to be so amazing for you guys. We need more of this conversation. Metabolism, not just like that quick fix. GLP-1, all of that can be great if your doctor approves, but I want to talk about real meaningful change. And Nagina's got that for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited for this conversation.
I am too, Sarah. I'm so looking forward to talking with you.
How did this journey with weight loss even start for you?
Well, for me, I had struggled my whole entire life with my weight and also with sugar cravings that were so strong that I thought I was just born with them and that nothing I would do would ever change it. That's how strong they were. I felt like I was born as someone that was big boned and just larger in size. That's how I describe myself. And that's actually how I internalized my body. And even though I tried to do everything from working out, I tried Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, I tried eating less and exercising more, nothing would get my weight off and to a place where it was sustainable. I would be able to lose maybe 10 pounds, and that was a great amount for me to lose. But the moment I would hit that number, I would start eating all the foods that I had been restricting myself from. I was in a constant yo-yo for my entire life, and it was really hard because all of the people that I was around, they seemed like they weren't doing anything, but yet they would just be slim and they would just wear all the clothes they wanted to. And I was the person that knew how many calories was in every single food. I was exercising all the time, but I never looked like I was that healthy inside, even though I was being healthy. And so what happened for me is that after I had children, I got to my highest weight because I had two kids pretty close in age. And then I also was working at a very demanding job, and I was working longer hours than I ever had been. And so my weight got to a maximum I had not reached before. It really hit me that I would look in the mirror and I wouldn't recognize who I saw. I would put on my clothes, and I was wearing maternity clothes for months after I had my children. And I wanted to get back into my dresses that were fitting. I wanted to get back into wearing shorts and feeling confident. I also just wanted to feel more energized because my energy was slipping. My kids would ask me to do things and I would just want to stay at home and be on the couch. And I didn't want that for myself for the future. And so really this has happened. What happened for me was a personal transformation that was mind blowing because I struggled with my weight for decades. I struggled with my sugar cravings. But after I was at my maximum weight, I started realizing I just didn't and I couldn't stay at this weight. I was not willing to accept it because I wanted a life of energy, of vitality, and of lots of fun. And yes, I did want to look good in my clothes. And so I started researching a lot of information I had access to as a result of me having my degree in molecular and cell biology. What I saw was that what I had been doing before, which was restricting myself, was one way of doing things, but there was another way that was healthier and more sustainable. And that was to add more foods that were metabolism boosting and would burn fat faster. And so I started adding these foods. I started combining my foods. What happened is that my blood sugar stayed more stable. It didn't go up and down. And I could not believe it, but in 9 months, I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, and thank you.
It's
And
incredible.
this was after a lifetime of really working so hard to lose 10 pounds, and even losing 2 to 3 pounds felt like so much work. And all of a sudden, it was easy for me to lose 40 pounds. And the whole time I wasn't hungry. I loved what I was eating. It tasted so good. And so that was over 13 years ago that I lost that 40 pounds. I have kept that weight off. And now in midlife, a lot of things happen to our bodies where we get a lot of bloating, a lot of inflammation, a lot of hormonal weight. And I experienced that. But because of putting in some sustainable practices, I was able to get that weight down as well. And now I'm just feeling amazing again in my body. And it doesn't feel hard once it's a lifestyle, which is the difference with how I approached it later on, is that I
Yeah.
stopped dieting and I created a lifestyle that feels easy and doable and that I actually want to do every day.
It's just interesting what you're saying. Like, first, it's adding versus restricting, acknowledging that we do have hormonal shifts because I feel a lot of times people are trying to lean away from that and say, well, we can still do A, B, and C by restricting or by putting myself on some sort of drug. And I just love that you're talking about boosting the metabolism. What was the number one food that you love to consume that was energy boosting for you?
Okay. Yes, absolutely. So the number one food for me, I'll say the number one food and then the one ingredient that really shifted things for me. The most important food, and I wouldn't want to skip this at all, was to be very diligent with the protein I was adding to my day. This was kind of like a hack. It felt like I was cheating because whenever I would add more protein to my breakfast, for example, it's easy to skip protein at breakfast. That's the number one meal that we should be adding protein to. A lot of times we feel like eating less at breakfast will help us lose weight, or let's just skip this meal, or we don't have time, so we don't think about it. Or maybe we grab some like light bread or a fruit and yogurt, something like that. But what happens is that once you start eating more protein, your body has what it needs to start burning fat. Your body needs some basic components to
Yeah.
feel at ease and get out of survival mode so it can start burning more fat. And the other thing about protein is that as we are consuming it, it has a thermogenic effect. So we're burning 30 to 40% more calories just while consuming it. But the biggest secret to me about protein is that it kept me full. It kept me satiated. And so all of the cravings that I used to struggle with, as I told you, I thought I was born with these uncontrollable sugar cravings. Literally within 1 week, I no longer wanted sugar. I no longer craved it. It was like the most massive transformation. And I still do enjoy sugar. I love chocolate cake. I love chocolate croissants. I love all those things, but I choose it. It's not like calling my name at all times of the day, which it used to do.
Mm.
And I found out even now when I happen to take down my protein, if I'm not being diligent about it, all of a sudden those cravings come rushing back. And so this is really a secret. It's a natural secret that if we start adding protein, specifically in the amount of 30 grams per meal, multiple times a day, each of your meals, and then you even have a little bit more than that, it's very hard to get too much protein. It's harder to get enough protein. Getting that 30 grams of protein is what your body needs. If you have some protein, but not that 30 grams, you're still going to feel it's
Right.
important to have that amount, and it will completely change your metabolism as well as your hunger.
Mm. Sugar is such a trap for all of us. I can think back to in third trimester. I'm sure you can relate having two kids. I was like, oh, wow, this is a lot of sugar that I'm craving. And it was because I wasn't craving enough protein. Can you share what are some signs of hidden sugar addiction and how can your method help break that cycle gently but effectively?
Yes, absolutely. So hidden sugar addiction, this is a thing. Like a lot of times we know we're not supposed to eat as many sweets if we want to get healthier. We know we're not supposed to eat as many desserts, but this is a thing. Sugar obviously isn't sweet. That's not the low-hanging fruit because I'm sure many people listening are already healthy and conscious of that. What's happening is that sugar is hiding in so many foods that are considered healthy. And sugar is a drug. If we're eating foods that are breaking down to sugar, it is causing our body to want more sugar. And this is a function of our gut biome because when we're eating sugar, it's feeding this bacteria in our gut that is living off of sugar. And so it's asking for more sugar. So when we're eating foods, even if we don't realize that there's sugar in it, it's being broken down, those cravings are going to be so uncontrollable because we're feeding that gut bacteria. Whereas if you actually become conscious, and I'll share a few foods that where sugar is hiding, if you become conscious of replacing those foods with lower sugar foods and foods that have different qualities, then you'll start growing bacteria that is craving vegetables, that is craving healthy whole foods. Imagine how easy it becomes when your body is crying out for vegetables. And it actually does this. This was such a revelation for me. I came from my body just screaming for chocolate croissants on a regular basis. And now I'm at a place where every single meal I start with green beans, I start with zucchini, I start with the salad, I flavor it with spices in my cooked vegetables. And I'm so satisfied after I have that. And so, you can actually turn over your gut biome and change your cravings. And that way, getting the body that you want to have, eating the foods that you know are fueling yourself is going to be so much easier. And it actually becomes quite easy. It stops being hard once you actually get off the diet cycle of eating smaller versions of food that's packed with sugar. Some examples of things that seem healthy are smoothies. Okay, now smoothies are things that a lot of people are drinking in the morning that are actually excellent if you make them in the right way. But a lot of smoothies are packed with sugar in the name of fruit. And fruit is not bad. There's absolutely nothing wrong with fruit. Fruit is amazing. We need fruit. We need the vitamins. We need the minerals from fruit. But there's a quantity of fruit that's going to make our blood sugar rise, and it's going to cause fat storage. Eating foods that break down to sugar without having protein alongside with it is going to cause you to crave sugar a couple hours later. Instead of having a fruit smoothie, it's better to have a smoothie that has a little bit of fruit, preferably a low sugar fruit like berries, such as strawberries, like a half cup to a cup of strawberries. Then you have a cup of spinach, and then you add some high fiber foods like chia seeds or flax seeds. You can add a protein powder for sure to give yourself that boost of 30 grams of protein, and then have a non-dairy milk. That's a really great recipe for a fat-burning, metabolism-boosting smoothie. But some other foods where sugar is hiding are granola bars and actually protein bars. And so many of us are feeling like, okay, let me do the healthier thing. Instead of grabbing chips, I'm going to get a protein bar, or I'm going to have a granola bar, or I'm going to sprinkle this granola over my yogurt. And the thing is that granola and granola bars, especially protein bars, if you just look at the label and look at the sugar content, I mean, it's going to blow your mind. Because really in one day, ideally, in order to lose weight, we need to have around 25 to maybe a little bit more if you want to be flexible, grams of sugar in an entire day. And in a granola bar, there's likely like 20 grams of sugar in that one bar, and you're consuming it all at once. And so those are things that, even protein bars, you want to look for the label that has a lower sugar content. There are some good ones out there, but you want to look for lower sugar content. And you want to look for higher protein so that you're not getting a blood sugar spike, because protein helps you balance out those blood sugar spikes. And the reason that's important is because whenever you get a spike in sugar in your blood, it causes insulin to be released. And that's taking the sugar out of your blood and storing it as fat. So ideally, we want to keep our blood sugar stable. And that's why eating 25 grams of sugar over the course of a day will help you do that. And you will watch the weight literally melt away in a healthy way. And then one more food where sugar is hiding, people may not realize, are things like bagels and breads, pastas. Those are not sweet at all, but they're carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are linked glucose molecules. So when you eat carbohydrates in larger amounts, but especially processed carbohydrates like breads, bagels, pastas, anything like that, and it doesn't have a lot of fiber or protein in it, then it's going to quickly break down and cause your body to crave sugar and cause those blood sugar spikes that are causing you to store fat. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have bread, you can't have pasta, you can, but you want to have the higher quality versions. Things like sprouted grain bread or sourdough bread or rye bread are a lot better for you. They don't break down as quickly. Pastas that are lentil pastas or other types of pastas like that, but you still want to have the quantities that are recommended on the box, for example. You really want to watch the quantities for those kinds of foods. And if you start doing this and then adding in some other foods, you're going to realize that you're very satiated and your body's going to start to feel just at ease and craving foods as much.
With your background, I find you have a unique approach to weight loss. In your opinion, how do you separate from the rest of the diet coaches out there?
Oh, yes. So first of all, I focus on, and I have seen incredible results, especially when you are in midlife, when you start eating more instead of eating less. Now, when we are in our earlier life, eating less, yes, you absolutely can lose weight. It does work. Going low carb can work. But first of all, it's not necessarily the healthiest way to lose weight. It will catch up with you after you're in your 40s if you're eating too low calories or if you're eating too low carbs. Your body needs carbs. So you just have to understand what those healthy carbs are because we need our thyroid to function correctly. That's our metabolism boosting gland. If we're depriving our body of carbs, our thyroid starts to slow down. And a lot of women experience hypothyroidism in their 40s because our bodies are not as efficient starting in our 40s, which I know it was unfortunate. I was very, very healthy and I kind of thought it wasn't going to happen to me, but it happens to most of us. Our bodies do change. So we really do want to be eating in the right way. So number one is to eat more. You want to eat more of the right foods. You want to eat protein more. I have a mantra, protein more. You want to have tasty vegetables. You want to have a cup of vegetables with your lunch and dinner and a cup of fruit with your breakfast because that way you are changing over your gut biome. You're giving yourself fiber, making yourself feel full and giving your body the nutrients that it needs. Otherwise, it starts to shut down. And then another area that's really important that I'm very different about is my use of spices. I really advocate and support using spices, especially to flavor your vegetables or proteins. Spices are very metabolism boosting. For example, and you sprinkle it into your coffee or tea in the morning, it helps you decrease your sugar cravings and it also brings down your blood sugar so you can burn fat faster. This is one of the things that I first started doing that really accelerated my weight loss because I used to love having coffee with a whole bunch of sweet stuff in it. Artificial sweeteners, it was a creamer. I always thought, okay, it doesn't have any calories, but it was still the taste of sweet that if we get addicted to that taste, we're seeking it out in all of our food. And then you're still increasing your blood sugar if you're having a creamer that has sugar in it. And there's a lot of evidence that shows that artificial sweeteners like Splenda affect our gut health, even though they don't cause us to store more fat, they affect our gut health because of the chemical ingredients in that. And so adding cinnamon is a really great way to get that sweetness without having a sharp sugar sweetness, but you're getting what you need. And then also using the spice turmeric is amazing because turmeric is a bright yellow color, but it's very mild in taste and it creates anti-inflammation, especially when you combine it with a sprinkle of black pepper. You can use a teaspoon or half teaspoon of turmeric in your eggs in the morning because it goes perfectly. It just blends in with the eggs. You can also use it in protein recovery shake. You can just add in a half teaspoon because it lowers your inflammation after a workout. And so your body really relaxes and recovers more quickly and it's completely natural. And then one more that I really love is a de-bloating spice, and this is coriander. When you sprinkle coriander onto your vegetables, especially asparagus is very de-bloating, meaning it reduces the water retention in our bellies. Like you will notice, and I've done this test on myself where I didn't drink any liquid, and then I ate asparagus sprinkled with coriander, and I had to go to the bathroom like 5 minutes later, and I hadn't drank anything. So, I mean, it just is, and I would urge anyone to try this out. It's getting that water out of your body, which bloating is a big problem for women in midlife as well, because we have more inflammation due to hormonal changes that is causing our bodies to hold water. And so it can feel and look like fat, but actually it's a lot of the weight increase, especially in our bellies, is inflammation. So when you're using metabolism boosting and de-bloating spices and foods, it just ejects all of that water from your body. It's truly magical. So those are a few things.
Those are great. That you're filling everyone's soul up right now. I'm just telling you, I'm loving it. I say this to my clients, but hearing it from another professional is so helpful. The cinnamon thing has always been a game changer for me. But something I learned today was coriander. I'm going to try that on my asparagus for certain. So thank you for that.
Yes.
And turmeric is just such a great spice. You
Mhm.
can put it in anything. Like you said, it has a mild taste. Obviously, if you put too much in, it could be a lot, but just start small and you can always add a little bit more.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely.
What's one myth about menopause and weight that you're tired of hearing? And what's actually true instead?
Yes, I love this question. Well, The myth that I've heard about menopause, which I understand where it started and why it's there, but the myth about menopause is that you're going to gain weight in midlife and that you have to live like that there's nothing that we can do, that we have to accept our weight gain. And I completely refute that. In fact, it's extremely unhealthy and will cause lots of potential inflammation and other chronic disease down the line if you don't take charge of reducing your belly fat specifically. So it becomes more than just vanity, though if you start with vanity, that's fine because it's motivating you. The myth is that we just gain weight. And a lot of times this is a myth because we've seen people in the generation above us gain weight around their 40s plus, or maybe some people in their 50s, maybe some people in their 60s. Everyone, it happens to everyone differently. Some people in their 30s. Instead, what I think a different way of looking at it is that this is the time to put yourself first. And if you put yourself first, you are going to be the most amazing version of yourself. But here's the other side of it. If you decide to just do what you've been doing and not make any changes, you will decline rapidly. So which choice do you want to make? Do you want to either decline rapidly by just doing what you're doing and kind of accept that this is harder? Or do you want to learn the right and new approaches? Because you got to do things in a different way in midlife and actually be the best version, the hottest version, the slimmest version, and the strongest version of yourself in midlife. There was an article that just came out about, they did a test on people in midlife, and they showed that people in midlife that started eating more real food, that started being more active, became like 60% healthier. And the people that did nothing, they became 40% more unhealthy. This is the time to decide, do I want to put myself first? Do I want to live longer? Do I want to live better? Do I want to look great and feel great? Or do I want to just watch myself feel tired, fit into clothes, no longer fit into the clothes I want to fit into, and potentially not go on all the adventures or do all the activities that you want to do? Because you do have somewhat of a choice here, given there's other variables in life, but you do have a choice to control as much as you can. So, midlife is a call to action to be your best and healthiest version of yourself.
And Gina, do you find that a lot of people that come to you at first are in this kind of crash cycle, possibly because of emotional and mindset blocks? Or is it just purely they just need to change what they were doing?
I definitely see both, though I see a lot of women that are trying really hard and they're really doing a lot of things to be healthy. They are taking all the steps. They are doing what they can. They're doing what they're hearing out there. It's just that they don't realize that a lot of advice out there is not geared for women in midlife. It's geared for women in their 20s and 30s, and even women in their late 30s. This stops working. And so that the way of restricting, focusing on over exercising, over cardio, just like counting your calories, it actually switches to looking at the qualities of the food that you're eating functionally healthy foods that are helping your body reduce inflammation, that are helping your body reduce fat and increase fat burning. There's actually qualities in real foods that if you know the foods to eat more of, your body's just going to reduce in all those areas. And so really just knowing that there's a new approach, that's a big part of it, is just understanding there's something different out there. But also the other thing that I know a lot of people struggle with is once they do find an approach, is being consistent with that approach and following through with it every day and, understanding what that means for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, temptations, eating out, social gatherings. And it's quite a lot, actually. And I feel like women especially don't really give a transformation of health the credit that it deserves, because we are talking about overturning habits we've had for our entire lives. And that takes a lot of accountability and support to change it. It's not as easy as following rules. There's a lot of emotion behind food, and there's a lot of emotion behind social settings and cravings. And it's hard to take those steps on your own. A lot of times having somebody that keeps you accountable and that gives you the right strategies for your body makes all the difference. And it's a difference between being healthier and holding on to the weight that is likely coming on right now, is having that accountability.
Or the mamas out there, because they are often feeding their entire family. Some dads now love to cook, which is awesome. But for the moms that it's purely on them. How can they balance keeping the nutrition well for themselves, but also the needs of their kiddos?
Yes, that's a huge thing. And I mean, I know I'm a mom now of teenagers, and what actually inspired me to start my journey was that my kids were very small, and I wanted to have a life with them that was energetic, active, and fun. And so, it was important to me that they had what they needed, but I also had to prioritize myself. What I recommend is something that's kind of unconventional to what other people say. So, a lot of other people may say, well, figure out the meals that your whole family likes and make it work for everybody. But I just completely disagree with that. If you can get your kids to eat vegetables at every meal, please do. I mean, it's amazing. And if you start early, you probably can do that a lot better. But there's also a level of healthy food that at midlife is important for us to eat. And children, they actually need different foods. Like they need more carbs. They don't have to have the level of healthy foods that we have. They can take in other kinds of foods too. So the thing is, if you try to make balanced meals for everybody, usually somebody is compromising. And I found that I was compromising myself when I would make something like a salad and baked ziti for my family. And then I would say, there was no way I could tempt myself away from that baked ziti. So I would be eating a good salad, but then I would also eat that ziti because it looks so good and I made. And so what I started realizing is that I need to make sure I have my own food made. And I don't expect my kids to eat the way that I'm eating generally. So I might eat grilled fish, grilled chicken with vegetables for my dinner with maybe some olive oil or coconut oil. And they don't really love that all the time, like not every day. Yes, they do eat that, but they also want other foods too. What I recommend is to have your own, to be simpler in what you're eating as a mom or as a parent, and prepare your own food ahead of time. And then try to combine the foods for the family if you can, but make sure you have your protein and your vegetables. If you can add on some carbs from your family dinner, if you can make a protein that everybody likes, then do that. But make sure you have your things set. And then there's certain meals that are easy to make in family setting, like an Italian meal. You could do spaghetti, meatballs, and a salad for the family. But for you, instead of those spaghetti noodles, you could eat zucchini noodles, or you could eat shiitake noodles, which are lower carb. You can have the meatballs if you like, or you could have Italian chicken that you make for the family, which is less processed, and you can have a salad. So you could kind of like substitute a few things. And I have a lot of these examples of different types of meals that you can kind of exchange some of the ingredients, but overall it's the same. But the main thing is to put yourself first and to make sure you have what your body needs, because your body's more sensitive to foods that are not healthy, and your kids' bodies can handle a lot of other things.
Thank you so much for that tip because I have noticed the shifts and I know that my daughter needs more of other food. And I'm noticing she's wanting, like, she wants a little more bread here. She's wanting some noodles. So I definitely am seeing that more and more. And we still want to be true to ourselves. I like that you said that, like, put ourselves still first.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Now, this is a question I love to ask because we all manage stress differently and you stress differently. How has stress saved your life?
Okay. So stress really came to play a big part when I was in my earlier to mid 40s, where it hit me actually like a ton of bricks, where I could handle a lot of stress before that. Like I never thought anything was stress. I just thought I could handle like 10 things at once. And that was just what I did. But all of a sudden, right before my mid 40s, I started realizing that I was starting to get more anxiety, and I was starting to feel like I was about to burn out. Like I was feeling like I just couldn't take things on, and they were affecting me like physically and emotionally. And that was really a call to action for me to understand what has changed. If this was like 4 years ago, I could have handled this without even thinking. What is happening? And it gave me the courage, and actually it was non-negotiable to pull back from so many things on my plate, that I was able to handle it, but I didn't enjoy necessarily handling all those things. So I was able to create boundaries for myself as a matter of survival almost, and say, I have to step back. I don't have to say yes to all of these things. It's okay if I have more time in my day, and it's okay if I take more time to do things. And then that also led me to go and try to understand what was changing in my body, because I felt like something's changed. This is not who I was. And so I did a whole panel of hormone testing, and I actually just like you had mentioned before, I didn't know if that had really affected me. I thought I could just power through things. But when I got the hormone test, which was not from my regular doctor, this is really important because my regular doctor was not giving me the tests that I needed. I had to go outside to a different clinic. I saw that my hormones had declined in certain specific hormones, and it was like black and white to me what had changed. And I started replenishing that, and all of my energy came back. I now can handle a lot more, but I still have those boundaries from before because I realized at any moment I don't want to have to crash and I don't want to go through that. So, really understanding that sometimes there's things that are changing in our body, and stress is an indicator that when you start to feel like things are more stressful, it's an indicator that something could actually be changing inside, and it's actually not your fault. You're not necessarily carrying on too many responsibilities or doing anything wrong. It's actually your body is changing. So it's like working with your body and bringing that to light. Very helpful.
I think that's something we all need to hear. And also the point about doctors. Sometimes our doctors have really great intention. They have all the good intentions, but you're one patient to the many. So you have to sometimes seek out the right kind of treatment or a different group, medical group, so that you can get everything situated with your hormones. So I
Hmm.
appreciate you saying that.
Yes, absolutely.
How can people connect with you and work with you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I'm so excited to share that, this has been so amazing talking with you. And we started talking about so many things and we're really covering the surface, right? There's
Good.
so much more really about how to get protein into your day, how to make it a habit, how to enjoy what you're eating. And so the first thing is I would love to offer a complimentary discovery call to anyone that is interested in changing their body in midlife in a sustainable way. And so this is a 10-minute conversation with me. It's a connect call with me to really understand your goals, your challenges, and I can recommend the 1 to 2 steps that you can start to do right away. And then if you are interested in having more support, I can share some of the programs that I have with you. I have a 6-month Slim Down Transformation program, as well as other time links as well. So that is at masalabody.com/apply for that connect call. It's just a quick 10 minutes. And so that we can just connect on where you're at. And then I also have a sweet spice cheat sheet to share with your audience. And this is a cheat sheet that includes the spice that is likely in your kitchen cabinet. It helps to lower blood sugar and curb sugar cravings. And the cheat sheet includes 3 health benefits of using the spice, 5 ways to use it in your day, which are no cook ways, and then 1 fire tea recipe that fires away belly fat and replaces wine at night. And it is so delicious and so easy. You can grab this by heading over to my Instagram, which is at Masala Body on Instagram, and DMing me the word sweet. And when you DM me the word sweet, I will send you back my sweet spice cheat sheet, and you will be able to get started on all those recipes. And then right away, I'll send you a newsletter that has more tips and more strategies on how you can create a sustainable lifestyle every single day. So those are a couple ways. Yes. And I would love to talk with those of you that are listening.
Gosh, Nagina, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and being here and sharing your expertise. I'm really excited to hear y'all's takeaways because there was a lot, right? Lot to process. Some things you know, but we really got to dig a little deeper and take it to that next level. Go message sweet to Masala Body on Instagram right now. Lastly, as always, remember to speak well to yourself on the self love journey.